Zuko and Katara should have ended up together. Yes, you heard me right. Many will disagree because they think Mai and Aang are a better endgame, and that's fine if certain individuals think that way because we all like different things. However, they're high-key wrong, and let me prove why Zuko and Katara are the superior love story. Be mindful that there have been videos made by amazing people in the past with fantastic arguments. So pretty much I'm just going to showcase a few of them as you currently look at the screen and link them in the description box below so you can look at these and just listen to these more detail-oriented arguments that are so much more than what I'm going to say here. Regardless, my 2 cents will basically speak about why I personally find Zutara compelling over the canon couples and address a couple of stupid arguments that just need putting down. Ready? Okay. So one day I was scrolling through TikTok, as you do, when I see a video on my For You page about Zutara from a creator who I used to follow, but not anymore. On this particular Zutara video that came up, she was hitting those points, making sense about why Zutara as a couple just works. I like it and continue about my business. And then the algorithm bombards me with people talking smack about Zutara, and the comment section certainly doesn't help. I tend to be someone who, if I disagree with you, but it's not a big deal, I walk away. I disengage and keep it pushing because why waste time getting heated over something minor? It also helps that I'm a laid-back person and I'm very slow to anger as well. Usually I keep strong opinions to myself over and over again, writing them down, researching, clarifying, just so I know that I'm not crazy. Eventually, water does reach a boiling point and my lid pops off. And that is kind of what happened several weeks ago. So here I am defending Zutara because despite what some people think, Zuko and Katara as an alternative ship is so fucking logical and definitely something that almost happened according to several show writers, voice actors, and evidence to the contrary. Is it my fault that Dante and Brian shipped Kataang so hard that they always seem to sneer or mock when Zutara is mentioned? No. And neither is it when someone likes anything other than Kataang or Maiko. Now, I can talk a lot of shit, but I'm not trying to be a bitch. So while I personally feel like the endgame pairings of Kataang and Maiko does such a disservice for Katara and Zuko, I'm not going to speak on why, though I will link good alternative videos and articles already explaining why, way better than I ever could. So definitely check them out in the description box below because there is definitely good material here. I will be honest, I knew since I first started to watch Avatar: The Last Airbender that Katara and Aang were endgame because the writers made it so obvious. Will you go penguin sledding with me? Is such a will you marry me type question, and Aang's crush is like insta. It's insta love. Some would call it fate, soulmates. I call it obvious writing. As such, I didn't really watch Avatar: The Last Airbender for Zutara, though I recognized, since the pirate episode, the potential such a love match could lead. Not just because, to me, Zuko was a much more interesting character with more nuance, and I had only seen season 1 Zuko so far, mind you, but regardless, I respect canon material until it disrespects me, and thus knew season 1 Zutara was just a fun, non-canon crack pairing because no way was it actually going to become canon in the story. It's harmless. Until season 2, the Crystal Cave episode. Now, before I speak on that, let me just tell you the absolute truth about Zutara. Zuko and Katara is a ship born from potential. It is something honest and the dynamic complementary almost. These are two individuals who were on far sides of the world with similar struggles, and despite the entirety and plot of Avatar: The Last Airbender, it was still able to bring these two characters together in such a natural and seamless way, be it friendship, enemies, or more. What I specifically love about Zutara is the character chemistry every time these two characters are on screen. Now, don't get me wrong, season 1 had them interacting as enemies, and rightfully so, but there's a funny level of care and grudging respect that Zuko especially exhibits towards Katara. Now, be mindful, I'm looking at this purely through the lens of them as individual characters and how they interact with each other as people from the little that they know of each other. I'm not looking at their friendship or romantic potential. We don't get there until season 3. When I say that Zuko shows care towards Katara, or as much care as he's capable of considering he doesn't know her and she she's the enemy helping the Avatar. I mean, when he captures Katara during the pirate episode, he doesn't harm her, torture her, or show her verbal or physical aggression. He just ties her to a log and waits for Aang. He doesn't even block out her mouth because Katara still shows her spirited verbal side, which he doesn't let get to him. We all know that if it were Zhao in that situation or any other Fire Nation soldier, they would have been much rougher in their treatment of Katara, probably chaining her up and locking her away so she can't use her bending, and even probably using her as like a bait, you know, so that Aang could like come towards them so they could try to capture him. This opportunity for escape would not have been so easily garnered with anyone but Zuko. Like, he didn't have to be so PG about it, and I appreciate that. Not to mention, Zuko also recognized Katara's necklace, which he's hardly seen on her considering the first time he sees her, she's wearing her polar furs, so he really can't see her necklace or her neck. You know, it's kind of slim viewing down there. And when he does see her for the second time on Kyoshi Island, he's focused on the Avatar and there's fighting and running, and I hardly think he's taken note of the necklace that's still around Katara's neck. So the fact that he sees the necklace, seems to recognize it, and then tries to get her to agree to help him, knowing it will affect her, is a level of attention to damn detail that is impressive. And this is his third time seeing her, and if anyone complains that he's not caring because he didn't give her back the necklace, well, of course not. She's still his enemy. Bro's got goals. Then we have the interaction in the Bato episode. And can I just point out that if Zuko was not Endgame or a potential love interest, why on earth would June keep antagonizing Zuko by calling Katara his girlfriend when it was obvious that Katara was supposedly the Avatar's? And she keeps doing it even after Zuko didn't take the bait, especially in season 3 when she sees him again. Also, love the care that Katara is placed on the inner part of the saddle to prevent her from slipping off when they later go to find Aang. You know, like compared to Sokka, like he also places his hand on her back, which is a minor detail to note, but I thought I would point it out because I'm obsessed with minute details. Again, not important, but now you know. From there, we have the twosome meet again in the North Pole with Zuko intends to kidnap Aang while in the Spirit Oasis. What I personally love about this confrontation, besides the fact that we have some action plot happening with the main characters, and it's a great way to see Katara's battle prowess, is that Zuko and Katara stand as equals. And though the confrontation was short, didn't last long at all, any chance to see the character chemistry grow is so much fun. Plus, you have Zuko's iconic
"You rise with the moon, I rise with the sun"
was such a treat because you not only get lore between firebenders and waterbenders, but you also have like a cute little character dichotomy that feels balanced. And not just because fire and water are each other's natural opposite elements. Then you have the reverse scene with Katara finding Zuko and the gang rescuing Aang, and bro, Katara's lick back was so satisfying. Again, they're enemies, but it keeps the duo on equal footing, even if Zuko got his ass handed to him, justifiably so. I know some people can argue that Katara didn't even like him at this point because she was willing to leave Zuko behind. And all I can say to that is, duh, they're enemies. Just because it's fun to see them interacting with each other doesn't mean Katara is going to forget the pressing issue, nor should we ignore that as much as we love Zuko's character, he's still on the wrong side of the war and needs his whole solo arc to find himself and wrestle against the indoctrination he has been exposed to as a child. Like, let's be fucking for real here. Canon Zutara is just an idea of a concept that fuels a great fanfiction writer into making a masterpiece. As it stands now, there's much work to be done, so we continue. Season 2 gives us a wider view of Avatar: The Last Airbender world building and the lore and the deep character study into our main characters. Zuko and Katara are kind of doing their own thing, with Zuko finding himself and trying to unlearn the intense brainwashing of how he was raised. Despite Zuko and Katara meeting up to fight Azula, it was heartening to see Katara offer to heal Iroh despite Zuko's aversion when forced to showcase his vulnerability. It shows that nope, they can't interact civilly just yet. However, this also shows that Katara doesn't really hate Zuko, because if that was the case, she was not going to offer up her healing abilities to Iroh, her enemy, uncle of Zuko, her other enemy. You know what I mean? Then season 2, Crystal Cave happens. When we finally get Katara and Zuko stuck in a room together, and Zuko endears himself to Katara's empathy over dead mothers taken by the Fire Nation, these two characters who I've favored over others since the start finally communicate with each other and open up. So throwing them in a room together and having them interact was such a moment because it was, as I suspected, the potential Zutara had us all salivating when Katara and Zuko's intimacy happened despite being strangers, especially Katara, who not even moments ago was convinced Zuko was evil incarnate. Like, she was literally ranting, telling this man that he was just the most evil thing ever. And then like this boy brings out, you know, the line about his mom, and suddenly she's just all over him. Like, guys, come on. The conversation they had just showed that there was something there that elevated them from mere side characters who speak to forwarding the plot. What really floored me was the quickness with which Zuko allowed Katara to touch him, specifically his scarred side that he doesn't let anyone else touch. It's like, Zuko, what's running through your mind here? Come on, buddy. Let us know. And if you think this moment was one-sided, let me give you Katara being betrayed later that same episode and holds the longest, meanest grudge until well into season 3 when they finally go on their own field trip titled The Southern Raiders. Because she was justified in feeling some type of way when Zuko, last she knew, ran hot and cold when it came to his loyalties. Like, no amount of pushing Suki out of the way to save Katara from falling chunks of concrete is going to make it right. Like, if Katara truly hated and distrusted Zuko, as many claim, she would not allow Aang, who she threatened death to Zuko over, leave with Zuko alone for days at a time. The same went for Sokka when he also disappeared for days with Zuko. Katara would have gone either herself or just forbidden them from going alone. Like, so come on, guys. Do you see what I'm trying to get at? Like, if she didn't care, like if she truly hated this man, she would not let the people that she cares about even alone with him. Like, you see what I'm trying to say here? So this bitterness, as we later find out, was really just the betrayal Katara felt over trusting him first and him turning on her in such a way that they nearly lost the Avatar. Because after Zuko gets in good with everybody, Katara is left realizing that she is the lone hater when it comes to Zuko's acceptance in their group when, once upon a time, she was the first to welcome him in. Now, Zuko's gotta make it up to Katara, and the best way to do that, giving her what she thinks she wants: justice. What I love about the Southern Raiders is that Zuko lets Katara take the reins and really trusts her judgment that what happens after is what she feels she needs to get closure. He doesn't belittle her, judge her, or foist onto her his own beliefs about what he thinks should be done. He simply supports her physically and morally. It really feels like both characters are on equal footing here, and Zuko acknowledges her as her own person. The buildup of their relationship, platonic mind you, remember this is platonic right now, is palpable and just so wholesome. It's the perfect building block for anything more. I especially love how Katara was not amused with Aang's one-sided view of her actions and comes to forgive Zuko instead, which really shows the maturity both of these characters have grown into. You know, her beef with Aang aside in that moment. Also, that hug is it's so good. Then the last 4 episodes of the series exhibits the most intense bonding between Zuko and Katara known to man. Like, they're literally practically at each other's hips, just talking and enjoying each other's company as they train, look for Iroh, and eventually fight Azula. They're constantly next to each other, and again, this B over here makes girlfriend jokes about Katara to Zuko. The writers make constant references, and the reason I was able to get my hopes up was because making Aang and Katara estranged from an endgame couple while making Zutara closer than ever is the weirdest way to dissuade people from going the Zutara route. Like, make it make sense. With the way Avatar: The Last Airbender ended, barring the last 10 minutes of the last episode, it was totally reasonable to either leave Katara's love life open-ended with maybe something for Zuko off screen or anybody else. It would have been believable, and personally would have given her some agency because she doesn't have to choose him, but it gives her a choice to do whatever instead of being pressured to answer to a demand she isn't even sure she wanted, despite numerous occasions to say otherwise. I know many don't believe it, but Zuko and Katara are good for each other. Like, they temper, understand, and support the other emotionally, morally, and physically without pressure, belittling, or dismissing the other's concerns, or imposing their own moral beliefs. Now say it with me now, potential for their friendship to deepen and for anything romantic to just grow naturally. They've seen each other at their worst and can definitely thrive in the good times and any times in between. Like, we've seen both characters show the growth for it. Not to mention, I love how Katara does not have to act the mother figure to Zuko. Like, she's not picking up after him or coddling his feelings. She stands as his equal. Like, she tells him straight up exactly what she is thinking on her mind. She does not have to like mind her words or try to like, people please basically. And he just treats her as like, again, I can't reiterate this enough. He just treats her as just an equal. Like he always has, even when they were enemies. He carries his own weight, respects her, even if she doesn't at first for him because of his past actions, which again, she is justified to feel because even Zuko admits his past actions are not it. Zuko allows Katara to be herself, whether that's her sweet empathetic side or even her prickly pretty boisterous side that's just ready to cut a bitch that some other characters just seem to have no clue how to react to. Seriously. Again, Zuko and Katara just work. And I'm not even talking about the complementary imagery and symbolism both characters have with water, fire, moon, sun, blue, red, etc., which is also true. So in conclusion, Zutara is the superior love story. No questions. Crushing arguments against Zutara. Exactly what the title card says. I'm going to address some anti-Zutara arguments here that I think are asinine, purposefully obtuse, and just plain stupid. First being,
you guys only like Zuko for Katara because he's a bad boy.
First of all, Zuko is not a bad boy. He may have done bad boy things, but he later deeply regrets his past actions and who he was. Zuko, as a person, is someone deeply flawed that's learned to understand what he did was wrong, and he has since demonstrated a willingness to change and do better for not just himself, but for the benefit of everyone else. This is very much unlike Jet, who is very much a bad boy in pretty much every sense of the word until the very last bit where he actually redeems himself. But he's still considered a bad boy. Again, Zuko may have done bad boy things, but he's not an actual bad boy. Like, don't get me wrong, he gives the impression of an edgy teen, but he's just that, a teen. And sometimes those teens learn the hard way.
Zutara is an oppressor/oppressed ship. Ew!
I'm sorry, what? In what world should individuals be held responsible for the reprehensible actions of a non-elected or even elected government body? Like, please tell me that. In what world should individuals be responsible for the reprehensible actions of a non-elected or even elected government body? Like, the actions of the Fire Nation have nothing to do with Zuko or who he should end up with. Like, step off and touch grass, please, because if we're following that insane logic, Zuko is not allowed to be paired with Sokka either. Sorry, Zuko shippers, I don't make the rules. Or anyone pretty much in the remaining Earth or Water nations. So again, sorry, Jin shippers, I don't make the rules. But if that's the case, then Hama's actions in killing Fire Nation citizens and Jet's actions to drown a Fire Nation village is justified because they're from an oppressor nation. So Sokka and Katara saving those people would have been in the wrong. They're the bad guys. Hama and Jet's actions are, the epitome of everything that is good and saintly. Do you see what I'm saying here? Just say you don't like Zutara as a ship and just leave it at that.
Katara hated Zuko!
Let me copy paste my earlier words because it feels very appropriate here. If Katara truly hated Zuko, as many claim, she would not allow Aang, who she threatened death to Zuko over, leave with Zuko alone or days at a time. Same goes for Sokka. Katara would not have allowed Aang or her only other family member to leave with Zuko if she truly hated him. She either would have gone with them or just forbidden them from going alone. Now, don't get me wrong, Katara was definitely bitter and petty and was a definite hater during that portion of when Zuko first joined, which she is again entirely justified in feeling, but had she truly hated him, Katara would not have forgiven Zuko after the Southern Raiders field trip. In the end, we learned that all of it stemmed from the betrayal Katara felt over Zuko's actions, which nearly costed the world. Like, she was truly impacted by his actions, like she was affected, like that girl was triggered that it took a while for her to forgive, but once she did, she was all friendly, all empathetic and supportive of Zuko, like literally became one of his cheerleaders and partner in crime against Azula.
Zutara is just an I can fix him trope.
It's sweet that people think Zuko is the type who needs fixing, because he does, but not from anyone, especially Katara. Do you know what I admire about Zutara? It's the fact that this is a ship that allows for both Katara and Zuko to fix themselves. They don't need anyone fighting their own battles. Zuko was able to find his own path. He had some help from Iroh, sure, but that boy found the light on his own the hard way. The same for Katara. She doesn't need no man to fix things for her. She can handle it, and Zuko recognizes that. That's what I love about Zutara. Both characters are able to express their agency and independence while still coming together to support and improve the other should the other ask for it. So this entire argument, fucking stupid.
You're just projecting / self-inserting yourself onto Katara so you can end up with Zuko.
Holy shit, where do I start with this? I think this argument, out of all of them, is one of the most insulting that I've ever heard, because not only does it demean the obviously female demographic and reduce their enjoyment, reading comprehension, and capability to like a couple as nothing more than a self-deluded fantasy because we're horny, simple-minded losers who can't see characters as their own persons. Because we need Katara as some sort of vehicle to justify, because apparently we need Katara as a vehicle instead of just reading ex-reader fanfictions. Like, fuck off. What a misogynistic take. And even if some people do project, it's harmless. Like, let them enjoy shit, because self-projecting can easily be any character, not just Katara. Or are we going to conveniently forget that Bryce and Dante, creators of Avatar: The Last Airbender, have clearly self-projected themselves onto Aang, which is why they wanted him to even end up with Katara in the first place. Like, are we forgetting that? That's a very crucial thing. That shit heats me so much, especially because these grown-ass adults got so petty and insulted teenage fans over liking like something so harmless. Seriously, these grown-ass adults got so petty and insulted teenage fans who dared mention that they like Zutara and publicly mocked them for something so fucking harmless. Let's not play the double standard game, because your faves can easily get dragged by their edges. So this argument is insulting and asinine. Get the fuck out of my face. Seriously, I can make a whole separate video about Dante and Bryce. I'm telling you guys, I'm so heated about this subject. But again, that's a video for another time because I need to reel myself back in. So let me continue this video. And what a video it is. Oh my God, I'm calling it, everyone. This video has gone on long enough, and notice how I didn't do too much shit talking towards Aang or my what Herculean strength, Day. But yeah, this is my defense and explanation for why Zutara is just the superior love story and still stands the test of time. Thank you for sticking around. This is my art for this video, which will get posted on my daydaydoes.com website. I apologized for going ghost these last few months. I didn't mean to disappear, but man, did that seasonal depression and other factors kind of just had me escaping to Game of Thrones and fanfiction land so heavily. Plus, this 9-to-5 job of mine is for the birds. Like, I just cannot do customer service facing roles anymore. I can't do it, guys. I can't keep doing this. I think I've outgrown it. Also, before I yeet myself out of this video, I do plan on getting back into webcomics. Like, I took such a break because Webtoon has disillusioned me. So if you yourself or anybody you know made a webcomic and want me to review it, hit me up on my website, daydaydoes.com, and fill out this form here so I can feature it in a future video. I do have a review video in the works about Nova, a requested sci-fi webcomic to be reviewed by yours truly, so stand by. I've reviewed Webtoon originals before, so this will be a fun foray into something a bit more meaningful for those trying to grow their work. I mean, to give every story its time in the sun and help market where I can. So be mindful that my review style is brutally honest with a helping dollop of constructive criticism. I do not pull punches, so if you cannot handle my honest opinions, please don't send anything in. But if you don't mind, feel free to do so. Like, hey, I'm all for it. And that's pretty much it. Until next time, cheers.